moving on to the rises and falls. Who's your number one riser, mate?
Julio Jones. Pretty much, I already talked about him, but he was coming off an injury. Like, people were kind of, what's the word, querying over whether he'd go straight back to his best, but he clearly is, and he's on probably a top 5 offense in the NFL. So he's back into the top 5 conversation for me.
Yeah, I think people were a bit low on him, to be honest, last week. He was actually my wide receiver 4, excluding Michael Thomas. So, yeah, but people would have had him down at like 8, 9, or 10, which I thought was quite disrespectful. I think the game that was scaring everyone, he went off. He had a 21% snap count. He had like 4 targets. So if you like times that by 4 to get his normal snap count, he got 16 targets. So yeah, I think people weren't really looking into it enough. But yeah, Julio definitely a riser. Glad, similarly to Lamar, glad to have held on to him. And I didn't try trade Julio, but yeah, just glad I was patient with him. And he's delivering the goods for me. And he's probably locked in at my wide receiver 1 for the rest of the year, which I'm glad to say.
Your receivers are looking very good.
Got DK Metcalf in for those listening. Get around me for Adam Thielen. I think it's a pretty juicy trade myself. I've got 2 DJs for the rises of the week. No AJs, just DJs. DJ Chark. He was my wide receiver 56 going into the week. Don't ask why I've got rankings down to 56. They go a lot further, trust me. He got 11.5. But the thing that spices me up is he had 14 targets. Shit. His yards per reception, it's pretty bad. I think it's like 5 or 6 the last few weeks, but he's the go-to guy, and we've seen it a lot. We saw it last year with DJ Moore and Allen Robinson, that a number 1 receiver on a bad team can often be a fantasy asset just because of that volume. But yeah, for me, 14 targets was very juicy. I thought Chenault was almost taking over a little bit there, but I think Chark might have been a bit banged up. He missed a match in there. And yeah, next few matches, he's got Chargers and the Texans, who aren't playing that well on defense so far this season. So, and the game script's always going to suit the Jaguars receivers. So, yeah, I'm not huge on him, but he's definitely a huge riser for me, given how low I had him going to this week.
Yep.
Who's your other bloke?
My other bloke is your other man, Brandon Cooks. I
actually appreciate the love.
Throughout the season, I've picked up and dropped him off the waivers about 4 times, because every time I've picked him up, he's produced a donut, and then the next week he goes out and scores 15. But he kind of looks like he's settled in now, and he's going to start producing at quite high numbers. The Texans' offense is going to have a huge number of passing attempts per game because of game script. Fuller is probably the clear alpha there, but I think they're both going to cop quite a bit of opportunity.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's as good as Hopkins or anything, but I think Fuller's getting a lot more volume than last year. But I do think Cooks is kind of slotted into that like first down role, the go-to guy when you need a catch to be taken, where Fuller's now back to his usual downfield target. But yeah, the Cooks role is perfect for fantasy. We were pretty worried, weren't we, at about 5 a.m. when he was on 2 points or something, because I just brought him in the night before, I think. And yeah, it wasn't looking great for me, but in the end, paid dividends, and he went pretty large. Also, oh no, they didn't get the ball in OT, did they? I was going to say that helped, but yeah, definitely a riser, and I think people should respect him. My other guy is DJ Moore. Mentioned that I've got 2 DJs. For me, I was getting a bit worried that Robbie Anderson was fully taking over in Carolina, but similar. Well, DJ Moore actually has quite a good yards per reception, which I didn't know he really possessed. I thought he was more a short target guy, but he had 11 targets last week against a quality Bears defense. Yeah, as I mentioned, week after week, he'd kind of been getting less and less targets, and Anderson's were going the other way, which I thought Moore was pretty bad in terms of fantasy. I had him all the way down at wide receiver 17 after he was like a top 10 prospect going into the season. But this week, Robbie Anderson only got 5 targets. And then They've got the Falcons in 2 weeks, which is a very juicy lineup for any wide receiver. And either side of that matchup, they've just got like bang average fixtures. So for me, DJ Moore could be a little bit of a buy low situation, but he's definitely a wide receiver starter in every league. And yeah, I just think you could get him in a bit of a bargain this week. So yeah, I'm pretty high on the DJ Moore. Do you have anyone else you want to mention?
No, that's it for risers.
All right, fallers, who you got?
I'll start with Cooper Kupp from the Rams. He looked very bad, not just in fantasy, but in real life against the 49ers.
He cost them the match.
Yeah.
It's like dead set.
He dropped 2 key passes that a top class receiver should be taking. And yeah, I don't know. Like, people are real high on Kupp and Woods going into the year, but they're not really getting the targets. I think the Rams are trying to get the run going as a priority. I don't know if it's because they don't trust Goff or whatever, but yeah, I wouldn't really want Cooper Kupp on my team at this point. He's definitely borderline wide receiver 3 territory for me.
Yeah, they're almost trying to play like the 49ers do, I reckon, with that committee backfield. And then they've just got some talented wide receivers and some good tight ends that they don't get bulk touches, but they get a few big plays every now and then. And Kupp missed his opportunity when he had the chance for those big plays.
Yeah.
One of them was like a pretty large throw, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Was one in the end zone? I can't.
Yeah, one was like a side like that.
Oh
It was like,
yeah.
and it went through his hands, and then the other one was like over the shoulder.
Yeah.
And he went guessed the wrong way, basically.
Yeah.
I look like an idiot, don't I? Trying to take a catch sitter down at my desk. Yeah, but he's definitely a faller for me. I have him all the way down at 21. So yeah, I would hop off. Fallers, my main man is Adam Thielen, and I'm absolutely rapt to have him in the fallers section this week because I traded him away for Metcalf, as I mentioned before. But for me, it's a worry. He only got 5 targets against one of the worst pass defenses in the competition in the Falcons. The game script suited them perfectly. Dalvin Cook was out. It was going to be the passing game was finally going to stand up for the Vikings, and they decided to just pepper Jefferson. He managed to get a fairly decent score, which we were mad about because the owner of him is Curtis, who has been on the show before, but we hate him as a bloke. And no jokes, we love him, but we're getting annoyed with how good his fantasy team is. But Thielen, he managed to get like 14, but I think it was including a touchdown.
Yeah.
And yeah, for me, I don't think like Jefferson's the number one there or anything ridiculous, but I do think Jefferson week after week is becoming more and more involved, and I think ultimately that's going to affect Thielen. And they do have fairly easy fixtures coming up, but yeah, he was my wide receiver 6 coming to this week. I was very high on him, but yeah, I'm not too keen on him now. I think in the tight games he's kind of the go-to, but whenever there's a bit more freedom going around, whether it's a big win or a big loss, I think they kind of turn away from him. So yeah, I'm worried about Thielen big time. Who's your other faller of the week?
Yeah, this is one we're probably both stoked about, but Juju Smith-Schuster. He's
Why? Why are we stoked about that again?
Because you have Deontay Johnson, and I have Chase Claypool, so more opportunity for them too. But yeah, all good, mate. But I think there's a genuine chance that Juju's becoming the wide receiver 3 on that offense.
4.
Maybe
back in Washington.
Yeah, backing in James Washington. But I mean, when Deontay Johnson was fit, he absolutely like killed Juju in targets. I think he had double his targets. And then now Chase Claypool's clearly broken out. Claypool won't get as many targets, but he's just a big play specialist. But I'd be very worried about Juju.
I didn't notice him on the weekend. Did you? Did you see him?
Well, I didn't watch the game.
Oh yeah. You're just looking.
I don't think anyone saw him because he had 2 catches for 6 yards. So
yeah, I honestly don't remember seeing him at all. Like I just saw Washington and Claypool every play.
Wait, was that game on?
Yeah, that was the TV game.
Oh, I thought it was Denver Patriots.
Oh no, thank God it wasn't.
Hang on, wait. There were 2 games. I think they were the two games.
Oh, really? Was one on Channel 7?
Yeah.
I should have checked it out. Should have watched. I would have been able to tell you if there was a touchdown otherwise. For me, my other guy is Darius Slayton. There's probably this rogue one, but I was pretty high on him coming to this week. He was my wide receiver 23. Once again, like some of the other guys I've mentioned, I was trying my guts out to get him. So good to see my trade instincts are absolutely horrid.
How's Cork not giving up Darius Slayton?
Yeah, I don't know. To be fair, I wasn't offering much. I was offering like Cooks or John Brown.
But okay, fair.
These weren't trades involving Lamar Jackson. But yeah, he was my wide receiver 23 coming into it. He only had 4 targets against Washington, which is a huge concern. Next up, they've got Philadelphia and Tampa. And at this point, he's basically just become reliant on touchdowns. He has one score larger than 8 when he doesn't score a touchdown. So it's pretty much touchdown or bust at this point for Slayton. Yes, I do think he's one of these weird blokes who almost does better against the good offenses because I think Jones doesn't trust anyone else and just goes to him. But I think he's questionable for this week as well. I think Sterling Shepard's due back soon. So I think there's a lot of things going against Darius Slayton. And for someone who had him at wide receiver 23, he's definitely going to plummet for me this week. Anyone else you want to mention, or do you want to move into the irrelevant position that is the tight ends?
I mean, I don't have any more names, but also not too keen on talking about the tight ends this week. Disgusting.
Yeah, I can't lie. It was pretty hard to pick risers and fallers. I just didn't really care that much.
It's a miracle! Oh, yeah! What about that one? No! Unbelievable! Balotelli, Aguero! Crowd cheers. Here's Siddle.